The coil on the old stove glowed unevenly, flickering, fading, then flaring again, as if it, like everything else in this roadside diner, was unwilling to do its job. Valentina, in a worn-out apron that was once white but now a tired gray, leaned over the fish she had just dumped onto a scarred countertop made from an old crate and a thin sheet of wood. It barely resembled a sea bass anymore, staring blankly up at the ceiling with its one remaining cloudy eye. Its expression, detached, expired, mirrored the entire place. Behind her, a door slammed open. Bursting into the kitchen came Peter Simmons, the owner of this establishment where Valentina had recently started working, a heavy man with a belly like a barrel and a face perpetually flushed, as if he boiled daily in his own rage and spit. "Where is she?" he barked, scanning the room until he spotted Valentina. He jabbed a thick finger toward her. You're the cook here, right? Or whatever you are, come help." He lumbered closer, his voice slurring slightly, menacing. "Today's lunch better blow them away. Got some bigwigs from the city, bankers, deal makers. Said they want fish stew and something roasted, but make it fancy. And our head chef, bless his useless soul, been on a bender for 3 days straight. You're the last one standing. Make sure it's edible. Ruin it, and I swear, there's the door. Remember?" Valentina didn't lift her eyes, just nodded once. Peter took that as agreement. "Good then," he grunted. "Now move. Table's reserved for 8 o'clock, and it's already 6:30. He wheeled back into the dining room, cursing about how everything always fell on him. Valentina was left alone. The kitchen was stifling. The ancient extractor fan whined in a defeated hum, failing to clear the smoke or the thick smell of burnt grease. Dust-covered jars lined the crooked shelves, leftover spices, crystallized honey, a bottle with no label, and a hardened lemon with a ghostly pale side. It was a world away from where she used to work. Not even funny how far she'd fallen. Not long ago, her life was entirely different. In Aix-en-Provence, nestled among elegant streets and fragrant gardens, she ran her own restaurant. Crisp white linens, silver cutlery, the soft murmur of refined conversation. It was her daily backdrop. Reservations were booked months in advance. Her name, Valentina Morozova, was whispered with admiration in fluent French. At Le Papillon, guests stood to applaud her creations. A gastronomic magazine once dedicated an entire spread to her. The sensation, a Russian woman conquers Provence's culinary world. But all that acclaim had stood on a powder keg. When the restaurant burned down, nothing was left, just scorched walls and silence. Legally, insurance should have covered the damages. But the paperwork, all in her husband's name, a Frenchman. He wasted no time cashing out, booking a one-way ticket and disappearing. Barcelona embraced him. Valentina was left with nothing. No answers, no voice, just smoke. And before we go further, let me introduce myself. My name is Yura Neba, and I wrote this moving story just for you. Tell me in the comments, what city and country are you listening from? And please enjoy the journey ahead. The fire took more than a building. It took her life. Years of work, gone in hours, and along with the money vanished her name, her reputation. She tried to save something from the fire, but all she carried away were scars, small but visible. Not life-threatening, but permanent. Her face, once displayed on glossy ads and billboards, now drew polite sympathy. The kind that makes you want to sink into the floor. She returned to her homeland. In the capital, top-tier restaurants turned her away with practiced diplomacy. "You can work the kitchen, but not the floor," managers would say, never meeting her eyes. Humiliation after humiliation. Glance after glance, she gave up. No more strength left to prove anything. All she wanted now was silence. So she ended up in the provinces, with her sister. Here, food magazines didn't reach. No one knew her name. This roadside cafe wasn't for food lovers. It was a pit stop for cigarettes and gas directions. Her sister shrugged and said, "Just hold on, sis. Things will work out. Just don't sit still. Find some work." And now, here she stood, in this suffocating, soot-stained kitchen. Before her, a lifeless fish. The clock marching steadily toward 8. Somewhere in the front, important guests and a crude, shouting boss demanding far more than he paid for. She dipped her hands into cold water and slowly, almost ceremonially, began cleaning the fish. Just like in Lion, when she trained under a stern chef who despised haste but demanded excellence. Her movements were sharp, measured. Even the old, dulled fish scaler obeyed her hands. Her fingers were numb from the chill, but she didn't feel it. All her focus was locked on the task. She searched for seasonings, bay leaves, pepper, anything for the broth. She rummaged through dusty jars, squinting at faded labels, opening lids and sniffing cautiously. Just then, a young waiter appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Whoa, Miss Val, you're cooking." He sounded hesitant, like someone starved for real conversation after a long shift. "Need something?" he asked. "Bay leaf, peppercorns if you've got them," Valentina replied, stretching to scan the shelves. The boy stepped in, glanced around, and started talking like he'd been waiting for someone to listen. "There was some here, but Sasha, he always messes stuff up. Chaos all the time. Nobody knows where anything is but him. Now he's AWOL, 3 days after his birthday bender. Chef's losing it. No customers, no tips. Quiet everywhere. Dead quiet." While he rambled, Valentina silently sorted jars. One had dried bay leaves, another black peppercorns. She straightened up and looked at the chatty assistant. "Found them," she said calmly. "But I still need dry white wine. Any kind, just not sweet. And a lemon. Fresh, no mold." The boy blushed. "No clue where I'll find that, but I'll try." He dashed out. Valentina set a pot to boil, filling it with roots and peels. What the last cook had tossed out. Onions with spoiled skins but firm hearts. She knew how to draw flavor from what others discarded. A limp sprig of dill, a touch of yellow pepper. And suddenly, the kitchen was filled with a smell this building hadn't known in a decade. The waiter returned out of breath, holding out a bottle and a lemon. "Got it. You're a gem," Valentina said with a faint smile. At exactly 8 o'clock, 6 men in dark suits, no ties, sat at a table in the back of the dining room, murmuring in quiet, measured tones. One of them, older, unfolded a printed map marked with red notations. "Right here, off the bypass turn," he said in a low but firm voice. "Good spot, close to the highway, water's accessible, power too." "Yeah, but the access road is too narrow," another replied. "A truck won't make the turn." "The mayor's office promised an expansion," a third chimed in. "Local owner might give up part of his land. The diner's nothing special, but the location, look at it, plain sight." Peter Simmons, standing near the door, immediately perked up and shuffled forward with a servile grin. "Gentlemen, finally, you made it. Welcome. I've heard you've got serious plans, and you're absolutely right. This spot, best on the stretch. Flat land, great view, traffic like the interstate. I rebuilt every brick myself. This place runs solid. The kitchen, top-notch. My chef, the kind you'd find in Paris." He clicked his tongue proudly and puffed out his chest. The investors exchanged glances. One eyed the peeling walls. Another squinted at the flaking sign outside. A third raised his brows. "Well, this place certainly looks the part," the eldest said dryly. "As for the kitchen, we'll see." "Oh, absolutely," Peter rushed to reassure him. "Tonight's special, family-style fish soup and roasted base. I oversaw everything myself. Just wait until you try it." "You'll lick your fingers clean," he added with a clap. "Bring the first course, quick." The young waiter dashed into the kitchen and seemed to vanish. Peter began pacing nervously. He'd bet everything on this, and now he feared the worst. Finally, the waiter returned with a tray. The men in their tailored jackets began sipping the soup, slowly, silently. One furrowed his brow as if about to say something, but didn't. Another lifted an eyebrow, nodded slowly, sipped some water, and said, "This is interesting." They leaned in, whispering now. Glances were exchanged. Someone looked toward the kitchen. Then, unexpectedly, one of the younger men turned to Peter. "Who cooked this?" Peter stammered. Just the woman. Some help from the cashier's family. Go call her." He stormed into the kitchen like a man on fire. His eyes bloodshot, face blotchy. "What the hell did you put in that soup, witch?" he hissed, closing in on Valentina. "They're out there pulling faces! Silent! What did you feed them?" He raised a hand as if to strike her, but instead slapped the wall beside her head with a loud thud. Valentina flinched, but made no sound. His breath was sour, thick with alcohol, his voice venomous. He grabbed her elbow, shoving her toward the door. "Go! Get out there, disgrace! They want to see you! Handle it now!" Valentina dried her hands on a dish towel and stepped into the dining room. Silence met her. She took one step forward, and the room exhaled, barely audible, a hush of surprise, and perhaps pity. Her scar was visible under the harsh overhead lights, a faint burn mark trailing from cheek to neck. But her eyes were calm. Tired, yes, but steady. The young man at the end of the table stood first. "You made that soup?" She nodded. "It was..." He paused, searching for the right word. "Extraordinary. So clean, so clear. Nothing wasted. Like a memory of childhood you never had, but always wished you did." Then the older man with silver at his temples stood, and he clapped, loudly. The others followed, their applause filling the small room. Peter Simmons froze against the wall, pale as chalk. The floor seemed to shift under him. The silver-haired man squinted at her. "Wait, you're not Valentina Morozova, Le Papillon?" She hesitated, then nodded, barely perceptibly. "Yes, that was me." "No way," he gasped. "You're her? The one with the monkfish fillet in lavender sauce? I still remember that dish. I proposed to my wife there." He looked at her like a long-lost masterpiece. More applause. "I haven't had soup like that in 20 years. And then he looked her straight in the eye. "Do you have a job?" Peter jumped in, panicking. "Well, technically she's with us, helping out." But Valentina was already looking at the investor. He continued, "We're opening something new in the city, a culinary project, not just another bistro, an experience. We need a chef, not just any chef, but a name, a soul. Do you understand? Would you lead our kitchen?" Peter, still lingering nearby, lurched forward with a forced grin. "Gentlemen, since things turned out so wonderfully, perhaps we could talk about my land too. After all, I run this place. The building is mine, the lot is mine, and, well, so is she." He barked a laugh, trying to sound confident, but his voice cracked. The silver-haired man looked at Peter slowly, truly seeing him for the first time. "Your kitchen might be yours, but this remarkable woman, she no longer is." His words fell like a gavel. The room stilled. He turned to his colleagues. I believe we've found exactly what we were looking for. No reason to involve this place any further." The others nodded. The younger investor turned to his assistant. "Make a low offer for the land. He'll accept it once he realizes the only real value here just walked out. We don't need his kitchen, or his staff, or him. Understood? Without him." "But," Peter sputtered, but his voice was drowned beneath the final glance of the older man. "Without him." Then, turning back to Valentina, he softened, nodding with quiet reverence. "Ms. Morozova, it's time to begin our journey." A week later, Valentina sat in a train carriage, watching the landscape slide by. Fields, dirt roads, scattered farmhouses with sloped roofs dissolving into the autumn mist. What lay ahead was new, unwritten, but it stirred her in a way she hadn't felt in years. Behind her, she left behind the soot and clang of cookware, the raised voices, the forced silence of enduring someone else's violence. All that noise was fading. She sat by the window, fingers gently curled around a lace-edged handkerchief, lost in thought. "Isn't it strange," she wondered, "how life twists and turns just to bring you back to yourself? Not the former self who once shined in magazines, commanding kitchens like a queen, but the quiet self, the one who rises again, softly, firmly, and without asking permission." That day at the roadside diner returned to her mind. The young waiter, eager, scattered but kind, had caught up with her as she was leaving, flushed, stammering, but lit from within. "It's a shame you're leaving. I mean, I've never seen someone cook like that. Now I want to learn too, like, really learn, to make people feel like that when they eat." She had smiled, touched his shoulder, and wished him well. He nodded, dazed, like he'd just realized you really can start over. Just like that. Before she boarded the train, her sister had come to see her off. Wordless, she hugged Valentina tightly, fiercely, like she knew words weren't needed. But then, in a breath, she whispered, "Don't be afraid anymore. You've already survived the worst." Valentina's eyes welled up, but she just nodded and stepped onto the train. She never looked back. Now, the rhythmic clatter of wheels hummed beneath her. The motion was steady, soothing. She closed her eyes and let herself smile. A new kitchen waited, a new team, a new dream maybe, a second chance, not at the spotlight, but at joy. And if you're still with me, dear listener, perhaps something in this story resonated. Maybe you've lost something, or someone, or maybe you've been pushed aside, overlooked, told to keep quiet. But let me ask you, what if your path is just bending back toward your real self? If you feel that tug, even just a little, you're not alone. And there's something I need to share with you. Recently, scientists made a fascinating discovery, a natural purple shell that, according to early studies, may help support deep fat burning, even during sleep. No strict diets, no punishing workouts, just a quiet inner shift. This finding is stirring hope in people who've struggled for years, people who, like Valentina, are ready to reclaim their energy, confidence, and sense of self. You'll find the full story in the video description. Go take a look. It might be the new beginning you've been waiting for. And if this story moved you in any way, leave a comment. Tell me where you're from. What part of this journey spoke to you? And above all, don't forget to subscribe. There's more ahead, stories, voices, truths, and perhaps your next chapter.